A pan is the motion of the camera side to side or up and down. In this next step, you'll pan the camera slowly from left to right to follow the motion of the Juno spacecraft. Move the playhead on the timeline to frame 160. At this point in time, you'll create another keyframe that establishes a new position for the camera. Move the camera on the stage to the right. Hold down the Shift key to constrain the movement to the horizontal direction only. You can also just drag the X value in the Properties panel to change the horizontal position to about -250. The spacecraft should remain roughly in the center of the frame. A new keyframe is automatically created at frame 160. Press Return Enter to preview the animation. The camera animates zooming out from frames 24 to 72 and then panning from left to right from frames 72 to 160, tracking the spacecraft. A crucial part of this animation is when Juno does a flyby of Earth, using its gravity as a slingshot to get a boost to Jupiter. You'll zoom in closer to show how the spacecraft approaches Earth. Right-click on frame 160 and choose Insert Keyframe, All. Inserting a keyframe for all the camera properties at frame 160 ensures that any future changes in zoom, position, or rotation occur from frame 160 and not from an earlier point on the timeline. Move the playhead on the timeline to frame 190. At this point in time, Juno is its closest to Earth. Zoom and move the camera on the stage so the Earth and Juno are close up and nearly centered. The zoom value should be about 760, and the position should be an X of around -1309 and a Y of 767. A new keyframe is automatically created at frame 190. Move the playhead to the start of the timeline at frame 1 and press Return Enter to play the animation. From frame 160 to frame 190, the camera does a dramatic zoom in as Juno flies toward Earth. Rotating the camera is unusual, but in some cases the motion can be quite dramatic and effective. In this project, rotating the camera will intensify the feeling of flying right next to the spacecraft as it approaches Earth. Make sure the playhead on the timeline is still at frame 190. Click the rotation button on the camera slider. Drag the camera slider to the right so the camera rotates clockwise and the objects in view rotate counterclockwise. The rotation value should end at about -39 degrees. Change the camera option back to zoom and pan, and move the camera so the spacecraft behind the Earth is roughly in the center. Preview the animation by pressing Return Enter or by scrubbing the timeline. The dramatic flyby of Earth by Juno is captured by the camera zooming in and rotating to be close to the action. After the Earth flyby, Juno continues its trajectory toward Jupiter. You'll animate the camera to frame the rest of its journey with additional zooms, rotations, and pans. Move the playhead to frame 215 and click the camera frame on the stage. Reset the rotation value of the camera to 0 degrees. In the Properties panel, you can enter 0 for the rotate value or just click the Reset Camera Rotation button, as I've done here. The camera view is back to its default angle. Move the camera so that the Earth and Juno are about at the center. Now move the playhead to frame 228. Juno is moving farther out from the inner solar system, so you'll need to keep backing up the camera. Change the zoom value to about 90%. Move the camera so that most of the solar system, including Jupiter's orbit, are in view. Select frame 480. Right-click and choose Insert Keyframe, All, to create a new keyframe. Your final camera move is to zoom into Juno's approach to Jupiter, so you have to create a beginning keyframe to establish the beginning values for the camera's zoom, position, and rotation. Zoom in for a close-up of Jupiter. The zoom value of the camera should be about 1,400%. Move the camera to keep Jupiter and Juno in frame. It may help at this point to zoom out a bit so you can see. Preview the entire animation by choosing Control Test or pressing the Test Movie button. Animate exports the animation as a SWF in a new window. The animation plays with camera pans, zooms, and rotations that closely follow Juno's journey from Earth to Jupiter.